Welcome back to the Twingo channel, and today I'm going to be doing a clutch master cylinder issue. This is the part, and it basically sits down there and attaches to your clutch pedal, and what's happening is the cage here, which has got a nipple if you want, so if you like that type of thing, basically goes on to the actual pedal itself, and it then pushes it down, and it pushes it in down like that. What's happening is these little clips here are not actually clipping on, and every so often it pops off and I lose clutch, and you just put it back on again, and it's just where they're basically where it's worn out a little bit. I thought about putting something round the actual clips themselves, like a bag tie, just a temporary one, but that seemed a bit rubbish. So really I'm just going to be taking this out. Now it's a bit of a faff to get in there, and so I can't really do a huge amount of footage on this because it's just so awkward. And so essentially what I've got to do is, this is the high pressure line going out to the clutch. This is the inlet from the actual brake fluid reservoir, because the brake fluid and the clutch are fed by the same bowl. Yeah, so, and it's relatively straightforward. So it's got a system where you can actually unscrew it without any tools. The only thing I've got to do is take the clip off, put the existing hose onto that. I don't want to really run a new hose. It's quite a buried deep inside. I'd have to take half of the engine apart, or the top part of the engine apart anyway. And yeah, so, and then just clip it on. And then I've got a pressurized brake bleeder system, which I've already used on this because I thought there was an issue with the clutch. It was quite hard. So yeah, that's really where we are with this. I'm going to be trying to get as much footage as I can, and let's just get on with it. So this is the actual part I'm replacing, which is that part there. I told you it's quite a buried part. It's actually underneath the dash, so I've had to take part of the dash apart. And so when I push down, if you can see very carefully, the whole cage is bending, and at the moment I've got a bag tie just trying to keep it on the nipple. And yeah, so that's sort of the issue we've got. So I'm going to take yeah, there we go. That's the part I'm going to take off. So I've got to undo the hose underneath here, and then basically take it out. But again, it's that cage up here which is actually physically just bending. It's very worn out. It's got a lot of slop and play inside it as well. So time for a new one. I've just emptied the brake fluid reservoir right down to the bottom. There's a little baffle in there which basically separates the brake fluid from the clutch fluid. So if the brakes go, or the clutch fluid goes, then you've still got brakes and stuff like that. So yeah, I've got pretty much it empty, and what that is basically when I disconnect it on that end, fluid's going to start dribbling out. So it's really just the fluid left in the line, which is going to come out rather than the whole bottle, and I'll be filling it up because I'm going to be pressure bleeding that whole system, so it doesn't really matter. So right, let's get inside. That's the hard line going off to the left, sort of there we go, I've got a finger there. That's the hard line going off left over to the gearbox, and there's a clip there which I just need to unclip. So the old part is out. It was a bit of a faff. I noticed that the actual, if you look very carefully, it's actually elongated. It's actually started to stretch. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why it just wouldn't hold on. So the new part is in. If I go in here, there's a nice shiny new part in there. So it's actually all connected up and back in. It was a real faff. Brake fluid gets absolutely everywhere. Sorry for the noise in the background, it's people throwing rubble around next door. I managed to contain most of it with bin bags on the carpet and towels and stuff like that, and the problem is that brake fluid will actually eat away at paint and crap and all sorts of if left, so I've given it all a wipe down. It's all connected back up again, the high pressure line's back in. The low pressure line, I had to put a bag tie around it just to tighten it up because it was a little loose. It wasn't tight, but it went on okay, but just for safety I thought, well, just put a bag tie. And again, that line runs all the way out through that way. So yeah, so time for bleeding. So the bleeder I have got is a container which actually there's a cap on the end which actually goes on to your brake fluid reservoir, and then we've basically got a connection which goes to your tyre. Now it only has a maximum pressure of 20 psi, so what I've got to do is take the spare wheel out of the car, reduce the pressure down to 20 psi, and then what happens is when you connect that, it actually forces the air through the bottle, and as the tubes are actually inside at the bottom, the pressure basically pushes the fluid out and through the whole system. This is required for this car because the clutch slave cylinder is inside the gearbox, and it's a pretty awkward system. It gets air trapped in there quite easily. You can't manually bleed it and just open the thing and let it go on. So I've attached the bottle to the brake fluid reservoir. It's got an adapter on there, and there's multiple adapters in the kit. I filled up the brake fluid bottle with the brake bleeder bottle with fluid. I forgot to go down into here to actually get to the bleeding valve. It's a very strange little bleeding valve. It does work, but you can only really use it under pressure. It doesn't work if you just undo it. It doesn't really work to get air out. It will trickle out, the brake fluid will trickle out, but the air won't come out. So I'm just going to set you up on the tripod and let you hyperlapse the taking of the airbox off. So that's the actual bleed valve down there. It's actually buried right on top of the gearbox, and it's a tiny little bleed valve just there. Bleed valve that's the valve there, and that is that. Now what you do is you actually just remove it one click, not both two clicks, but one click, and then pull that back a little tiny bit, and then it then starts to bleed. It's a very odd system. I don't know why Renault did it. Maybe they prefer a much more traditional, easier to get to bleed valve than this, but well, it is what it is. So the clip is out now. It won't look much different down there, but it's pretty ready to go. I've just pulled it out one click. The actual pipe pops out one click. If you pull it out two, it will just dump all its fluid everywhere. So it's one click to bleed. Time of truth. Basically, I'm going to put this onto the wheel and pressurize the system. And you might be able to see the fluid going down, and what that's doing is, whoa, there we go, I've got a thing underneath it, so that's all the air coming out. I said I've got a tray underneath there where the actual it drains into, so that's good. There's going to be a little bit of spillage, but there we go. It's actually bled that quite nicely, and you've got to keep an eye on the bottle. I said it's dropping down, so when it gets down to the minimum, then you can fill it back up again. I'm actually just going to run it through. Let's have a quick look. There it is. Yeah, that little. It's very difficult to see down there, but yeah. Now we're getting close to minimum, and I'm gonna stop it. Said there we are. So, and I'm gonna top it up just a little bit more, and then do maybe half a bottle more, maybe less than that. Okay, I've just added a little bit more in, just a tiny bit more, and I just want to run that through, and then that should be the bleeding done. Yeah, you can actually hear it. Whoop. There we go. That should be it. Now what I do is I put the thing back on. I'm going to do that quickly before it gets any air in the system. Right, let's see if I can get my finger in there. There we go. Dust cover back on, clip back on, cable is back in. Again, sorry for the camera angles, it's just so hard to get in there. There seems to be no pressure on the actual clutch pedal at all, so I think there's still some air in the system. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to check everything, put some more fluid in, and try again. After a trip to the car parts store to get some more brake fluid, because I ran out, I had to get another bottle. And after 2 more attempts at actually trying to get it, and also an absolute fucking mess as it's splattered everywhere, absolutely everywhere, so I've got to clean all this off. Thank God I've got a tray down underneath there. Yeah, I've just done 2 more bottles through that, and also what I did was I actually pumped the clutch pedal as well, which seemed to actually really help. So there must have been some air trapped into the clutch cylinder there, up front there. So yeah, bit of a faff really. Last time it was considerably easier than this, but actually there was a lot of air bled into the system. So the clutch slave cylinder is buried away deep inside there. So yes, and it's also a very odd route. So right, time to clean this up.
Don't stop.
Right, well, the car's pretty much all back together again. It drives back and forth. The clutch feels quite higher, much higher, so it seems to have a lot more pressure inside the clutch system, the actual the hydraulics. I'm going to take it for a test drive, and then when I get back, I'm going to basically get the vacuum out, Henry Hoover, and give it a good clean up inside. I've jet washed the engine bay, got rid of a lot of the stuff. I've disposed of the brake fluid. I've got an empty bottle which I just decanted it all into. So yeah, that's really where we are with this. Well, thanks very much for watching. There's more content coming. I've got the seat for the Twingo Mark 1. One of the cables has gone on for the adjustment, so I've got new cables just arrived. Postman's people should just deliver it today. And I've also got the Cambelt and water pump to do on that as well. So thanks for watching, and look out for the next video.